we've talked about some of the causes, right, of poor mental health. What are the keys to better mental health then?
Personally, I think on an individual level, I do think like sleep and diet is critical. Our physiology is so critical. I know Sane lah, right? Sometimes I also sleep 5-6 hours, and it's only until recently that I started to take care of it a bit better. But even the food that we are eating, goodness, some it's very sad that the healthier food is sometimes a bit more expensive. Yeah, and those in poverty, they're trapped. They're trapped because they can't even access some of these good quality food. Yeah, it's very sad, and it does have effects on mental well-being. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I have a confession to make. I just ate a whole packet of potato chips yesterday.
Yeah, maybe that was for mental health, right? For the betterment of it.
Yes,
Wow.
comfort food.
It's okay to have some craving. Yeah, I eat and but like M&M chocolate can eat one whole pack.
Oh wow, okay, all right. Okay, I don't feel so guilty after that.
Yeah.
All this I was snacking on fish. This is the fish crackers. Yeah, I was
Okay.
feeling quite stressed before this actually. There are a lot of things to handle, but yeah. So I just ate some to make myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I read a CNA article, this was in 2023, that says that studies show that resilience is a key to good mental health, and those with higher resilience scores will have good mental health scores also. How do we get that? How do we score higher in resilience? Is it something we can attend a class or what? Is it genetic? Vincent, what's your experience in that?
I mean, of course, if you talk about resilience, yeah, what is the definition of resilience? Is the ability to bounce back when faced with a setback. I think I would say that I don't know, what about, your view, lah. What I see that parents are not kind of, educating the children, yeah, when they face with a setback, how they handle. In fact, I have quite a number of students, yeah, when they fail their whatever exam, right? Okay, instead of, validated or be kind of sayang, yeah, the parents say, why you fail? And then when they did well, the parents didn't say anything much. Because when we come back to resilience, do we kind of like, equips our children, yeah, the young generations in terms of ability to bounce back, in terms of connecting, in terms of knowing their strength, yeah, when faced with, like a problem, how they resolve a problem, yeah, and also in terms of the skills of regulating their emotions. I think that's a big part that parents did not kind of don't know how to equip their children on emotional regulations.
What a lot of parents are doing is the opposite, right? Because resilience is, like you say, bouncing back, after a setback, a failure, a crisis. So to build resilience, I guess the first thing is you need to allow failure. You need to allow people or your children to experience failure, right? Not to be a failure, because one failure in life doesn't make you a failure for life, right? But to let them fail and then process it with a child and says, okay, what can we learn from it, right? Because it does not define you. It's not the end, but you can always grow from it. So I think that's number one. I think Singaporean parents coming more protective, maybe even overprotective. And therefore, we are like bubble wrapping our children, not wanting them to even get a scratch. So I think that's doing harm to the kids more than help. Because if you're not letting them fail or even, hurt themselves, then how can they learn to bounce back?
Yeah, I think I do agree with that, Parcsen. I think specifically with the idea of demonizing failure also lah. Yeah, I think some parents demonize failure with the hopeful intent of trying to promote resilience, right? I'm gonna beat you down in my words, and I'm gonna make sure that by hook or by crook you will get the results, or you uh, meet expectations. And because I am doing this to you in a borderline abusive way, then you become a resilient individual. But I think that is completely like flawed, lah, right? I mean, it builds a very unhealthy resilience. It builds biting the onion resilience, just bite, bite, bite. Like it's not a very smart thing to do unless you like onions, lah.
One time I was giving a talk, right? And then this father was sharing about how he trains his child, and how he treats his child. Now, it sounded more like a platoon sergeant, right? Resilience is when your child falls down, you teach him how to get up. But
Yeah.
here, what this father was actually doing was he was pushing the child down, making him fall, all right, and then telling him, get up, all right? You're not a wimp. You're stronger. Be strong. Stand up. So I was trying to find the most gentle way of telling him this is what you're doing and you should not be doing it that way. Let your child experience failure, because failure will happen. You don't have to create it. You don't have to push him down. He will fall, and when he falls, you just encourage him to stand up.
I think what's missing in the conversation about resilience is the idea of compassion. And not just compassion for others, but self-compassion. So I'm reading a book now. I've been reading this for the longest time. Yeah, but I go to it a lot. It's called Good Morning, I Love You by Shauna Shapiro. So Shauna Shapiro is an individual who kind of kick-started or pioneered the mindfulness movement. In her book, she discusses the importance of talking to yourself with kindness and being intentional in how you language things, to not regurgitate the quotes of the past, but to come up with compassionate quotes to affirm yourself. And I think that is where it adds so much value to resilience. The resilience becomes a tool that individuals can use when they are at their lowest points. Yeah.
So far, we've talked about resilience, we've talked about compassion and self-compassion. And I think that ties also with empathy, right? And this is what I got from that book, which I mentioned, The Thrivers, that empathy is something we are losing. And one of the reasons why we are losing empathy, especially the younger ones, the kids, is because of too much time spent on the screen, right? And instead of spending it face to face with another human being, and learning to read that person, learning to be able to sense what that person is feeling. From my understanding, all of us in our brains, we have this set of neurons called the mirror neurons. And this mirror neurons basically enables us to be able to kind of mirror what the other person is feeling. All right. When you're sitting across from someone and he's showing a sad look on his face, those mirror neurons somehow makes you also, maybe it's not exact replica, but you also tend to feel sad, right? And so it's kind of our natural way of being empathetic. But when you are not spending a lot of time face to face with another human being and practicing all these things and allowing what nature has given to each one of us to be empathetic, well, you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, talking about this the mirror neuron. Yeah, I remember the time I did, and we were in a training. Yeah, so we asked the strangers, no, that means we don't know each other, and we just look at each other, yeah, face to face, just be silent, and to feel that person's. Wow, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's how we just drop the tails, no? Yeah, we don't know, we can feel that feeling of the other person, although this
mm,
person is a stranger. And then we shared certain things, yeah, and got it, no? What the person is feeling and what maybe something is going through. Yeah. I mean,
exactly. That's how powerful it is. That's why I'm amazed that, how we are created, with all these tools, instruments, and natural abilities. But I guess we have not realized that this is what we have and that we can use it from day one. Little children are very empathetic, except I think they're taught not to be, right? They're taught to care for
mind your own
themselves and
business.
mind your own business. Yeah, bring your own bag. I think we need to go back to that. We need to learn how to teach our children empathy, or, all right, let me correct myself. Help our children develop empathy once again, to revive it in them. It's already there. They just need to revive it, right? Because if you don't use it, you lose it. So keep using it. Get them to meet face to face, get the friends together, invite them to your home, have a party, have a dinner, play games, watch TV, watch a movie, whatever. and get them to have more face-to-face interactions rather than screen time.
And in fact, this empathy can divide into two parts. Okay, one is emotional empathy, and the other part is the cognitive empathy. Of course, the emotional empathy, we talk about the ability to feel someone else's feeling. Yes, and for the cognitive empathy is the ability to recognize the emotions of another person and then finding out, understand why they feel this way. Yeah. Mm.
I've got a perfect example for this and a very personal one. So I'm putting myself out there, being vulnerable, to be embarrassed, okay? Before I was married, so my girlfriend, who is now my wife, had a pet dog, all right? And I mean, the whole family loves the dog, and eventually the dog died. And she was crying for a few days. Now, I was trying to comfort her, but in my mind, I was telling myself, it's just a dog. So obviously, I don't have very high empathy. Definitely, I do not have emotional empathy because why? I've never had a pet. Okay, maybe I had goldfish, but I was just too young. I wasn't the one taking care of it. I never gave it a name or things like that. So I don't have that emotional empathy. Neither do I have the cognitive empathy because I didn't think of thinking or trying to put myself in her shoes. Now, if I were her and I had this pet for many years, and now I've lost this pet, how would I feel now? I think that's cognitive empathy, right? Imagining or, thinking about how a person would feel if this thing happened. So I didn't have either one of them. So yes, you are totally right.
Yeah, I think Parcsen, you're not alone, lah. I'm also, I tend to sometimes jump the gun. I mean, now with my wife and I, we are newly married, right? So we are, I guess we are doing a bit more value clarification when we talk about certain social issues or how we should, because we are both social workers, right? So how we should help people and whatnot. And actually, I think she has quite a different way of doing things from me, but I can jump the gun to justify my point instead of having both that emotional and cognitive empathy, right? Taking a pause and trying to sit with how she's feeling, like the mixture of feelings that she's experiencing. I find it okay, I guess it's an important thing. I find I have to be intentional about it. When I'm not, right, it becomes like a board meeting or what she calls it, like some debate. Because I like the debate. I love it, right? Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I can't be debating with your wife all the time. Okay. That's a very risky thing to do. So
Yeah.
I get very excited when there are different viewpoints and I can pick out the logical inconsistencies. But yeah, that's not empathy. Right? Empathy is taking the additional step to say that I want to, um, in some sense, like prioritize how the other person is feeling and receiving what I'm going to say before running my mouth. And I am still a work in progress on many fronts on this. Yeah.
Yeah, we all are.